Welcome to the deep dive. We are so glad you were here with us today. If you have ever sat through a corporate all-hands meeting or skimmed an annual report and felt like the phrase corporate sustainability was just like an empty buzzword.
Oh, yeah. A total hollow box the company checks off just to look good.
Right, exactly. Then this deep dive is absolutely for you. Today, we are looking at a really fascinating stack of research you sent our way. We have corporate profiles, website excerpts, blog posts, and a really insightful YouTube transcript detailing the vision of an organization called Sustnet.
Which stands for the Sustainable Business Network Association Malaysia.
Yes. And our mission today is to unpack how this single Malaysian NGO is attempting to completely rewire the corporate DNA of Southeast Asia and potentially the world.
It is a massive undertaking. And to understand what they are doing, we have to look past traditional surface-level green initiatives. I mean, we're not talking about a bank planting a few trees on a Saturday for a photo op.
Right.
The materials you shared reveal a highly structured, strategic, and profoundly tech-driven approach to changing the very definition of a successful business.
Okay, let's unpack this by starting with the anatomy of this movement. I was looking through the origin documents, and Sustnet officially registered back in December 2016 as a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Their stated goal is driving the United Nations' 17 Sustainable Development Goals. But what really anchors an organization like this is the leadership.
Absolutely.
The architect behind all of this is their CEO-T's Dr. Norsaidatul Akmar Mazelan. How does her background shape what Sustnet is actually doing on the ground?
Her background is really the blueprint for the entire organization. When you look at her resume, she isn't coming from a purely activist background. She brings over 30 years of experience in hard-nosed management, consulting, and financial management. She holds a PhD in strategic management, but crucially, she also has a Bachelor of Science in mathematics.
Wow.
On top of that, she serves as a global ambassador for GPM.
Let's pause right there because we are going to run into some acronyms today. What exactly is GPM?
Fair question. GPM stands for Green Project Management. It is a global organization that develops standards for sustainable project delivery.
Okay.
So when you combine a deep mathematical background with strategic financial management and global sustainability standards, you get a leader whose approach is rooted in hard numbers and frameworks, not just idealism.
She understands the bottom line.
Exactly. She understands that if the math doesn't work, the business fails. And a failed business cannot sustain any kind of environmental mission.
That mathematical mindset makes so much sense when you look at their core philosophy. In our notes, I used an analogy to try and wrap my head around it.
Let's hear it.
Think of standard business as running on a 1P operating system. That 1P is profit. It is the ultimate bottom line everyone looks at.
Right, the classic model.
So if standard business runs purely on that 1P system, how does Sustnet actually force them to change that foundational DNA?
They do it by upgrading the operating system to a 5P framework. This is actually an award-winning framework developed by that GPM organization we just mentioned. And Sustnet uses it to evaluate every single project.
And what are those 5Ps?
They stand for product, process, people, planet, and prosperity.
Okay, that sounds great in a glossy brochure, but what does that actually look like in practice?
Think about a traditional clothing manufacturer. Under a 1P system where profit is king, the goal is simple. Make the shirt as cheaply as possible and sell it for as much as possible.
Right.
If that means polluting a local river or underpaying workers, the 1P system doesn't care, as long as the quarterly earnings look good.
It's blind to the externalities.
Exactly. The 5P system forces a holistic view. Are the people safe and paid fairly? Is the planet protected during the manufacturing process? Is the product actually durable and useful? And finally, does this entire operation generate shared prosperity?
So it's not just about saving the planet in isolation.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It ensures that businesses don't just survive a transition to green energy, but that they thrive ethically and economically. If a company goes bankrupt trying to be green, they haven't achieved prosperity.
And the model fails.
Precisely.
That makes total sense. But to pull off a 5P system, you can't just have one clothing manufacturer doing it in a vacuum. Sustnet has built this sprawling ecosystem. The documents list 13 different types of entities they connect.
It's a huge web.
Yeah, we are talking about schools, universities, NGOs, cooperatives, small businesses, massive public listed companies, and even government agencies. I have to play the skeptic here for a second.
Go for it.
Isn't putting 13 different types of organizations in a room a recipe for an absolute bureaucratic nightmare?
It sounds chaotic,
I know.
but that interconnectedness is highly intentional.
Mm.
If you want to drive genuine systemic change, isolated actors working in silos simply won't move the needle. You need everyone at the table. Sustnet calls this a strategic thinking group. Think about it. If a university is developing a new sustainable material, but they aren't talking to the small businesses that actually need it, or the government agencies that regulate it, the innovation just dies in a lab.
It never sees the light of day.
By linking them all, you create a unified momentum that no single entity could ever achieve alone.
I can see how a giant public corporation could afford the time to sit at that table. But that brings us to a massive hurdle, which is the SME dilemma.
Yes.
Dr. Daniel CFN wrote a blog post in our Stack, and he dropped a really powerful insight. He pointed out that for most small and medium enterprises, or SMEs, sustainability feels like a luxury they simply cannot afford.
It's a huge issue.
He said it feels like a cost, not a cause. Let's be real. If I am a small bakery owner barely making payroll, aren't these 5 Ps just going to bankrupt me?
That is the exact friction point Sustnet is trying to solve. When an SME has razor-thin margins and limited technical know-how, sustainability just looks like an expensive defensive compliance measure.
A new tax.
Right. A new tax or a new regulation they have to pay a consultant to figure out. Sustnet's entire goal is to show SMEs that sustainability is actually an offensive strategy.
An offensive strategy? How so?
Because it unlocks new markets. Consumers are actively demanding sustainable products now. Large corporations are requiring their supply chains to be green.
Oh, I see.
So if that small bakery can prove their ingredients are sourced sustainably and their waste is minimized, they suddenly qualify for contracts and customer loyalty they never had access to before. It creates long-term value rather than just a short-term expense.
But how do they actually prove that? Because if I'm that bakery owner, I don't know the first thing about calculating my carbon footprint.
Very true.
It seems like Sustnet recognized this because they aren't just preaching. They built actual practical tools. One of them is an educational arm called Sustack.
Sustack stands for the Sustainability Training, Analysis, and Assessment Center. It is pure capacity building.
What do they actually do?
They offer hands-on training, executive masters, and diplomas in applied sustainable services. They are essentially building an army of local professionals who actually know how to implement these strategies on the ground.
But the tool that really caught my eye in the research is called Sustainix. And I want to dig into this because the word blockchain is used.
I knew we'd get to the blockchain.
For a lot of people, blockchain sounds like crypto bro jargon. How does a blockchain platform actually help a local business become sustainable?
Think about the biggest criticism of corporate sustainability today, greenwashing.
Right.
That is when a company slaps a green leaf logo on a plastic bottle and calls themselves eco-friendly. But there is zero proof. Sustainix is a blockchain-based platform designed to eliminate that completely.
So it's about tracing and tracking to deliver trust.
Precisely. A blockchain is simply an immutable, transparent digital ledger. Once data is entered, it cannot be secretly altered or erased. Which, for an SME, this means they can track their materials from the source all the way to the shelf. They now have concrete, verifiable, mathematically trusted data to prove their environmental and social impact to investors and consumers.
It removes the guesswork.
It removes the guesswork and the greenwashing entirely.
That is fascinating. It takes the subjective marketing out of it and replaces it with math. And for people who want to build these kinds of verifiable businesses from the ground up, Sustnet also created the Raffaday School of Entrepreneurship.
Yes.
The sources say this is an initiative for everyone, from budding entrepreneurs to retirees. Instead of just boardroom theory, the focus is heavily on learning by doing.
Imagine a retiree who wants to start a community compost service. Instead of just reading a pamphlet about the environment, they go to the Raffaday School to learn the practical business mechanics.
Turning local food waste into a profitable 5P-aligned business.
Exactly. They learn how to actually execute.
If they are building all this local talent in these local businesses, how are they connecting them across the broader region? Because Sustnet operates on 4 major pillars for our Asia-Pacific collaboration.
Those 4 pillars are really the load-bearing walls of their regional mission. First, you have biodiversity and food security, which involves different city chapters actively sharing agricultural knowledge.
Okay.
Second is shared prosperity and economic balance, focusing heavily on financial inclusivity for marginalized communities. Third is sustainable education for all, leveraging technology to expand learning access.
And the fourth?
And the fourth is social values and value creation.
What does that fourth one actually mean in plain English? Social values and value creation.
It means humanizing sustainability. It ensures that as we build new green technologies, we aren't leaving people behind or ignoring local cultural values. The technology has to serve the community, not the other way around.
Let's look at how those pillars tackle a real-world application, because our sources brought up a staggering statistic about the global plastic crisis.
It's hard to even comprehend.
Humanity produces over 400 million tons of plastic waste annually. To visualize that, it is enough to build a garbage tower taller than the Burj Khalifa in Dubai every single year.
Wow.
And nearly 156 million tons of that comes from packaging alone.
It is a phenomenal systemic failure. And it's exactly what Sustnet is targeting with an initiative called Sustainix Beyond Waste.
How does that work?
They're taking that blockchain platform we discussed and using it to track plastic waste, aiming to turn waste into worth.
How does tracking plastic on a blockchain actually turn it into worth?
Because if you can definitively prove where a piece of recycled plastic came from and verify its quality, it suddenly becomes a trusted tradable commodity. You create a circular economy where materials are continually repurposed rather than the traditional take, make, and dispose model.
The sources actually take us on a journey to see these concepts on the ground. The blog posts act like a sustainability travelogue.
They really do.
First stop is Bali in 2023. We read about an organization called Astamana Liang, operating under the Asta Group. They're implementing the Sustainix blockchain right there in Denpasar, but they are applying it to something called biodynamic waste management. Can you explain what biodynamic means for someone who has never heard that term?
In simple terms, biodynamic practices treat a farm or a waste management facility as a single self-sustaining living organism.
Okay.
In a normal system, you buy fertilizer, grow a crop, and throw away the waste. In a biodynamic system, there's no such thing as waste. The byproduct of one process becomes the fuel for the next.
A closed loop.
Exactly. Everything is repurposed within a closed loop to restore harmony between the people and the land. And by using the Sustainix platform, Astamana Liang can digitally prove to the world that their closed loop is actually working.
From the jungles of Bali, the journey in the blogs projects forward to Egypt in 2026. They describe a 6-day sustainability pilgrimage to the Sikkim Group farms traveling from Cairo into the Wahat Desert.
It's quite the shift in scenery.
This isn't just a corporate retreat. They are demonstrating how ancient wisdom combined with modern innovation can literally make the desert bloom.
The Egyptian example is vital for understanding Sustnet's philosophy. Sustainability is so frequently framed as a Western corporate import, a rigid set of rules handed down from boardrooms in Geneva or New York.
Right.
What Bali and Egypt prove is that sustainability is actually a globally adaptable lifestyle.
The phrase they use in the blog is living sustainability in motion.
Right. It has to be deeply rooted in local ecosystems and local cultures. What works in the Wahat Desert is fundamentally different from what works in Denpasar.
Makes sense.
But the underlying 5P framework and the ability to track the success with modern tools like blockchain remains constant.
Okay, so we have the philosophy of the blockchain tools, the schools, and the on-the-ground action. But corporate businesses are fiercely competitive. How do you motivate executives to actually care about this and compete in this space?
You use CARES.
Awards and recognition.
Exactly. But they cannot be participation trophies. If the awards are easy to get, they are worthless.
Right.
The Sustnet website notes they have evaluated over 2,000 sustainable projects, and they do it through a grueling multi-stage assessment methodology.
Walk me through that gauntlet. What does an applicant actually have to do?
Stage 1 is awareness training. The applicant has to prove they understand how their innovation aligns with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay.
Stage 2 is pre-screening by assessors. They pore over written documents, hard evidence, pictures, and videos.
Thorough.
Stage 3 involves deeper screening by lead assessors, where the applicants have to present and defend their projects. Only after surviving those 3 stages do they reach Stage 4, which is the actual award consideration.
And these awards are a massive deal in the region. The flagship is the Malaysia Global Sustainability Awards, or the MGSA. It was launched back in 2015, and it has serious backing. The Crown Prince of Selangor is the patron.
It's very prestigious.
Looking at the upcoming 2025 categories, they have 3 distinct paths. There is the Elite Award, which honors excellence in ESG integration. We should probably define ESG for you listening.
ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance. It is essentially a framework used by investors to evaluate how a company manages risks and opportunities related to environmental and social issues.
Got it. So the Elite Award is for the heavy hitters integrating ESG. Then you have the Green Next Award, which is all about youth leaders and the next generation.
Crucial demographic.
And finally, the Green Innovation Award, which focuses on research development and prototypes that are still in the lab.
Beyond the MGSA, they're also driving the Asia-Pacific Sustainability Conference and Awards, the APSCA, and the CEO Sustainability Awards.
It's a whole ecosystem of recognition.
But the brilliance isn't just handing out a plaque. It's what they do with the winners. They compile an ebook of the awardees and funnel them into a sustainability leaders network.
So it's a networking play.
It is a high-level collaboration engine. They are actively corralling influential CEOs who have already proven their commitment to the 5P framework. By hosting events in different cities quarterly, they foster inter-city collaboration.
That's smart.
A CEO in Kuala Lumpur can share a logistical breakthrough directly with a CEO in Jakarta.
Which brings us to the ultimate scope of what we are looking at. The YouTube transcript in our sources reveals a timeline that really made me pause.
The horizon.
Yeah. Sustnet's 2025 awards are framed under the theme Malaysia's Green Horizon 2065, Pioneering a Regenerative Future. They are already planning for the year 2065.
If you step back and look at corporate mechanics, a 40-year vision is virtually unheard of.
Truly.
Most publicly traded companies plan quarter by quarter based on 90-day earnings calls. A truly visionary company might have a 10-year roadmap. Sustnet is laying out a 4-decade trajectory.
Why 40 years, though? Is it just to sound ambitious?
It is because they are aiming for a regenerative future. Sustainability simply means maintaining the status quo, not making things worse. Regenerative means leaving the environment and the community significantly better than you found it. You're repairing damage.
And that takes time.
You cannot repair decades of industrial damage in a single fiscal quarter. It takes decades for a forest to regrow or for an ocean's biodiversity to bounce back.
How true.
Sustnet recognizes that this is a generational marathon. The initiatives of 2025 are merely the foundational stones for the reality they intend to see fully realized by 2065.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Whether you are a small business owner trying to figure out how to clean up your supply chain, or a corporate executive sitting in board meetings, or just an insanely curious learner wanting to understand the future of global business.
There is a lot to take away.
The takeaway from these sources is profound. The definition of business success is fundamentally evolving. Sustainability is no longer a defensive, annoying cost you have to absorb just to avoid bad PR. It is an offensive, value-creating strategy. And the most surprising part, this movement is entirely accessible. Looking at the membership forms in our stack, anyone can actually join Sustnet. From individuals to foreign organizations, with yearly renewals ranging from just 150 Malaysian ringgit up to about $300 US.
That's very approachable.
The door to this strategic thinking group is wide open.
It is wide open and it is moving fast. But as we close this deep dive, there is one final thought I want to leave you with looking at all the evidence we have covered today.
Let's hear it.
Sustnet is utilizing incredibly advanced quantitative tools. They are using immutable blockchain ledgers to verify supply chains, and they are deploying rigorous multi-stage assessments to quantify their 5Ps with mathematical precision. But as we look toward that massive 40-year vision of a regenerative 2065, we have to ask ourselves a much harder question. How will we measure the cultural shift? Can the true human empathy required to shift a business mindset from a cost to a cause ever truly be captured on a digital ledger? Or does the real revolution, the one that actually guarantees our future, happen in the unquantifiable human spaces between those 5Ps?
That is a brilliant question to ponder. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into your sources. Keep questioning the systems around you, and we will catch you next time.